Yeah, hello everyone. So this training session every day from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay. Monday to Saturday. And we have few expectations. Yeah, you should have commitment to learn. Okay. Second thing, you need to be punctual. In time, you have to join. And if you join from laptop, that would be good. Okay. Parallelly, if you want to practice, you can practice. It's something like a workshop. As I do, if you do on your side also, that would be better. And I may assign some tasks. If you complete them, that would be really good. And you can pose questions to me at the end of the session. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask at the end of the session. Okay. And further, again, to see same session, you can go to the channel, and in the channel, you can see that. We post every day after completion of the session. Okay. So if you have any questions, answers, they can be answered. Now let us come to our full stack. Okay. So let me once again give the introduction of the full stack. A full stack technology does consist of computer system applications, which includes two separate web development parts. Okay, the front end and the back end. Okay, it constitutes the front end as well as back end. The front end includes everything that a client or site visitor can see and interact with. So in such cases, the front end can be a desktop application, or it can be a console application, or it can be a mobile application, or it can be a web application. Basically, that is front end. Okay, so front end includes everything that a client or site visitor can see and interact with. That means you can see, basically, full stack meaning is here you can build different types of front ends, or you can build a front end. So that is going to be, rendered in different types of devices. Same web application that can be getting rendered either in the mobile phones or in the tablets, or it can be in some other IoT device, or it can be like web browser. Okay, so that is basically the front end. Yeah, that includes everything that a client or site visitor can see and interact with. Okay, and when we talk about backend, that refers to the servers, databases, and other internal architecture that drives the given application. So every web application has two parts. One is client facing, the other one is in the server. Okay, so in the server side, you have the server side coding. That is the driving force behind the web application, and the databases to store data forever or for persistence. Okay, you have a database. In the database that gets saved. So whenever we talk about front end, these two parts, we have, whenever we talk about full stack application, there are two things. One is front end, other one is back end. Back end refers to all the servers, databases, and other internal architecture that drives the given application. So whenever we talk about full stack, it's going to be both, front end and back end. Okay, the front end can be a web application, or it can be a desktop application, or it can be a command line application even, or it can be an application which can be running on IoT devices. Okay. Similarly, for example, you take TV. TV, you can think it is an IoT device. These days, TVs are smart TVs. In that, we run operating systems like Android. Okay. So front end can be anything. But whenever we say here full stack, that means only web application development. In that we create websites or web pages. Website is nothing but a collection of web pages. They can be rendered across different devices. Like a mobile phone, as I told earlier, it can be a tablet, or it can be a web browser, anywhere that can be getting rendered. Okay, so we develop here web applications. And mobile application development, that's different. Okay, something like React.js or Android with that we develop, that is different. That is also part of front end, but we don't cover that. We just cover only the web part, websites development. Okay, so in this we have front end as well as back end. The front end includes everything that a client or site visitor can see and interact with. The back end is actually the servers, that means application servers, which are going to be running your application. So for building application servers, we can use different technologies, different tech stacks we use for the, complete full stack. And you can use databases for saving data forever. For persistence, we use the data. Suppose when you run an application, you may input some data. As long as your application is running, you have data in the, in the program. But once you close program, whatever data you have in that, you are going to lose. Okay, basically running of an application is nothing but you are creating instance of the application that is called as a process. We call that as a process. Normally, when you install application, it will be getting installed on the disk. Okay, when you launch application, it is basically a process you are creating. Okay, it's a process you create. Normally, when you install application, it has only static data. But whenever you run that application, it has static as well as dynamic data. Whatever data you key in, or whatever data you enter, or whatever data your application is getting, that is actually dynamic data. So that data simply cannot be retained after closing the application. So you need to save ultimately that somewhere, like a flat file or database or some XML file. Okay, so normally we need to save like that. Okay, for saving data, we use databases. Database is nothing but well-defined collection of data. So for easy retrieval, for storing, and with certain constraints, we basically define the database schemas. Using that, we save data. So in the server side, you have application server as well as database. And in the front end, you have mostly UI, user interface. That means whatever client is seeing, that can be called as UI. And the UI is going to be getting rendered in the browsers. We have different types of browsers, as we know. Chrome is a browser. Similarly, like Edge is a browser. Mozilla Firefox is a browser. Safari is a browser. Opera is a browser. All these are different types of browsers we use. All these are actually modern browsers. They support the latest version of HTML as well as HTTP. Okay, latest version of HTML is HTML5. They support the HTML5. Okay, and whenever a browser is rendering your page, it is going to be using some kind of view engines in that. Okay, view engines, with the help of that, it is going to be developing your web applications. Fine. For example, you take Chrome. Chrome uses here Blink rendering engine. You go with the Microsoft Edge or Explorer, they use Trident. Okay. Similarly, Gecko is used by Mozilla Firefox. Like this, they use actually different rendering engines. With the help of that, your web applications are going to be getting rendered in the browser. Here, web application meaning is what? Front end. I'm just talking about front end. So front end, whenever you make a request to server, you are going to get HTML. That is going to be getting rendered in the browser. HTML, as we know, it is a domain-specific language. Only for rendering content, we use HTML. Unlike languages like C, C++, Java, Python, they are general purpose. Whatever kind of application you want to develop, you can develop. But HTML is only meant for rendering the content which is marked up in the HTML in the browser. For that only we use. So it is a domain specific language. So in the front end, you have HTML pages, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, that is called as front end as far as a web page is concerned or web pages are concerned. And in the back end, you have application servers and you have database. So that is going to be part of the server side. So this together can be called as full stack. Okay, this together is called as full stack. Okay. So these days, there is great demand for the full stack developers. Okay, there is great demand for the full stack developers. So these people are basically skilled professionals. Okay, so spelling is missing. Professionals, this is ALS I need to put here, but somehow I forgot to do that in a hurry when we made this, probably I forgot that. So full stack developers are skilled professionals. They are proficient both in front end and back end coding. Full stack is a developer. They can work with both front end as well as back end. They can work with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or you have popular front end frameworks like React.js or Angular or Vue.js or jQuery. These are all different types of libraries available to build, front end. Apart from that, they can be good with the application side. Suppose your server side may be with the Java. In that case, they may be good with the Java Spring Boot. Or it may be getting developed using .NET. In such case, they may be good with the ASP.NET Core or simply ASP.NET. Or they may be developing using Go language. In such cases, they may be good with the GoGen or Go Buffalo. Similarly, if they develop using Python, in that case, they may be good with the Fast API, or they may be good with the Flask or Django. They are the frameworks for developing web applications using Python. Okay, so the full stack developers are skilled professionals both in front end and back end coding. So to become a full stack developer, normally it takes 2 to 3 months time. Okay, to reach to some level, you cannot be 100% proficient in that within 2 to 3 months. There is no shortcut. For becoming a full stack developer, definitely you need to sweat a lot. You have to work very hard to become a full stack developer. Okay, so normally an average developer, if a person to become an average developer, and that person also committedly when they do, it may take 2 to 3 months time. Daily, at least 3 to 4 hours one has to spend. Okay, it cannot be just like 40 minutes or half an hour. So you cannot become like that. So definitely you need to spend considerable time, then you can become actually full stack developer. But there is good demand for the full stack developers. So these professionals can be compared with Swiss Army knives. If you look at Swiss Army knife that is used by soldiers, so that particular knife has many tools in that. It has many tools. Okay, so any kind of work they can do. Normally, whatever soldiers are supposed to do, they can do with the help of the Swiss Army knife. So full stack developers are skilled in that manner. They are skilled in actually many different tools, like a Swiss Army knife. So Swiss Army knife can perform different types of operations for us. Different things you can do in the same manner a full stack developer can do. Often that's why it is compared with a Swiss Army knife. Full stack developers are compared like that. Okay, if you look at actually the Swiss Army knife, it has a drop point main blade plus other types of blades and tools, including the screwdriver you have in that, a can opener, a saw blade, a pair of scissors, all these you have in that. Okay, so when soldier goes on the field, we have soldiers basically, they can be on the field or they can be in the metropolitan areas, particularly in India. They categorize like that. There are two types of fields. One is actually, there are two types of things. One is field, that means they go into the battleground, like battleground only it is. And they are going to be staying in bunkers. They may be protecting the borders. Similarly, they can be staying in metro areas or in cities they stay, like office work they do. Okay, so whenever you are in the field, you require different set of tools and all composite or all, I mean, kept in one particular tool. So such tool can be called as your Swiss Army knife. So in the same manner, a full stack developer have to have the skill of developing different types of things in this front-end development, back-end development, looking into security aspects, database development, I mean, similarly maintaining the site. Okay, so performance tuning from time to time, database performance tuning, application performance tuning. So many things they have, they expect from the full stack developers. Full stack developers as well as maintenance people, I say, not only developers, full stack developers as well as maintenance people. Okay, so often you can compare them with the Swiss Army knife. Okay, so the term Swiss Army knife has entered popular culture as a metaphor for usefulness and adaptability. Okay, as a soldier is skilled to use different tools which are part of Swiss Army knife, the full stack developer is skilled with front end and back end technologies. A full stack developer should transition seamlessly from one development environment to the other. Same day, sometimes you need to work with the front end and you need to work with the back end. You should be balancing both when you become a full stack developer. You may be working with the Angular. Okay, you may work with Angular for front end. At the same time, suppose mobile application is getting developed, you may work with the React.js, React Native, we call it. At the same time, you may have to work with the back end. Okay, like Python Django or Python Flask or Python Fast API. You may be working with some database like MySQL or PostgreSQL at the same time. Okay, so I mean the full stack developer should transition seamlessly from one development environment to the other. So such capabilities are required for the full stack developers. So front-end developers work with the visible parts of an application for web browsers and mobile devices. Front-end applications are usually built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Back-end developers, in contrast, write the software code that communicates with servers, databases, and other proprietary software that conveys information to front-end interfaces. From back-end, we take data and we push into front-end, it's going to render data. Similarly, user may input some data, that data is sent to server, that means to the backend, and that can be further processed in the backend, that may be getting saved, or they may do some other kind of thing, depending on the requirement. So here, front end mostly you work with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Whatever front end framework you may use, whether it's Angular or React.js or Vue.js or Vanilla.js, whatever it is, ultimately, when you make applications, it's going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Browsers know only those. Okay, even if you are a React developer or if you are an Angular developer, it doesn't make any difference for the browser. So when you compile, ultimately, it is going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, in the backend development, you write actually server-side code. With that, you are going to interact with the databases. So we interact with databases or we interact with file system or other types of things we do in the server side. Okay, so there coding may be different and here coding may be different. You may use some Python coding. In the case of Python, what happens? The syntax is going to be different. Data types are going to be different. And how you interact with the database, that can be different. So straight away from front end, you can't connect to databases. So some mediator is required that you have with the backend, like Python framework, or you can go with the Go framework, any framework from Go, or it can be ASP.NET Core, or it can be Java, Spring, okay, Spring Boot we call. So any of them can be used for the backend purpose. It depends on the ecosystem. Suppose if I'm working with longer time with the .NET, in such case, definitely I prefer only .NET. If somebody is good with the JavaScript, good with the JavaScript, in such case, they go with the Node.js. If somebody is proficient with the Java, Spring Boot, in such case, they may go with the Spring Boot only. Okay, even they ask others also to learn that. It mostly depends on the architect and the ecosystem. That means whenever you go for developing an application, there should be people who can work on that, who are very good with the tools, whatever you are going to use. Then only you can successfully complete application. And later on also we need to maintain. So when you look at Python, it has actually very good ecosystem and about 29% market share is held by Python. Okay. And if you look at other things, like for example, take Microsoft, it is about 12%, I think. Java is about 15%. Okay, Go language like that, it's about 3 or 4%. Though it's very good language, Go, but still you don't have ecosystem. That means people who can work on the Go, you cannot find many. With Python, you can find plenty of people. So architect normally chooses the Python language. Of course, it depends on his experience, or the architect may be building over a period of time some team. So as per the team, they can go for it. Okay, so I mean, these days, all technologies, they are on par. You cannot simply say one technology is good, other is bad. Of course, if you don't know about other technology, in that case, you blame the other technology. If you're good with one technology, definitely you want to go with that. If somebody is asking you to learn new one, you may not like that, you may resist, you may not like, so you may ultimately say it's not good. I have seen such people actually. Okay, but all are on par. It depends on the architect and depends on the ecosystem you have. You choose that particular, I mean, technology. But in the front end, always it's going to be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that you do either by writing pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or you may use libraries like jQuery. For that is for actually, I mean, DOM manipulation, for animation, for ajaxing, we use it. All these words may be, if I mean, many of you know, maybe many of you know, I think, all these words. But if you don't know, later in the sessions, you understand all these things. Okay, so you can achieve even using jQuery. But still, if you want to go with single page applications, in such case, you can choose Angular or React.js or Vue. With that, we develop, I mean, single page applications. Okay, so here, if you look at the full stack developers, they have the capability to develop applications from start to end, because a full stack developer has hands-on experience on both server-side technologies as well as client-side technologies. Okay, so the capability of full stack developer is they can develop end-to-end application. From starting to end, they can develop both front-end as well as back-end, because they have experience with the front-end development as well as back-end. So they are proficient with the server side as well as client side technologies. If you want to become a full stack developer, then you have to be good with the front end as well as with the back end along with the databases. So if you look at full stack development, here you can see full popular tech stacks. Like in the front end, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So this can be one, you can think as one stack in this in the front end, or you can go with Angular, or you can go with the React.js, or you can go with the Vue.js. Okay, irrespective of, whether you use HTML, CSS, JavaScript in the browser, it's going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Even if you do with Angular, ultimately when you compile Angular application, it is going to give you HTML, CSS, again, JavaScript. In the case of React also, it's going to give same thing. So basically in the Angular, we use TypeScript, which is nothing but superset of JavaScript. So when you compile Angular application, it's going to give you HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Similarly with the React.js, and even with the Vue.js also. So there is not much difference. Okay, ultimately it's going to be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but the way you develop is going to be slightly different, and the tools you use are going to be different when you work with Angular, React, and Vue.js. And HTML, CSS, JavaScript, developing code with them is really tedious process. Okay, managing the code with them is going to be is basically very difficult. But in such case, if you employ Angular or React or Vue.js, in such case, development can be fun and you can easily manage things. Okay, because these have well-defined structures. With the help of that, very quickly you can develop, as well as better solutions. Better solution meaning is what? I'm not talking about performance. Okay, while developing applications also, if you have proper structure, easily others can understand, and maintenance can be easy, and within no time you can develop. But you cannot do such things with the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's really a daunting task. Everything writing from JavaScript is really a daunting task. So instead of that, you can depend on the front-end libraries like Angular or React or Vue.js or jQuery, or even some other libraries we have, we can use them. But most popular package libraries used are front-end frameworks used are either Angular or React. Angular is from the Google and React is from Facebook. Okay, Angular is from Google, React is from actually Facebook. So they have contributed much for the front-end development. Okay, Angular is from Google and React.js is from the Facebook, but they keep on updating continuously. The pace at which you get new versions or new features is really very fast. Okay, if a developer is lazy, developer do not want to update. In that case, soon the developer gets outdated. Okay, we should be continuously improving ourselves. We need to reskill. We need to upskill. Then in that case only you can survive. Okay, the libraries with Angular and React, they develop very, very fast. Okay, so we need to update continuously. Within a span of 1 year, they may release 3 or 4 versions sometimes. Okay, they may release 3 or 4 versions in a quick succession. So therefore, you need to maintain the pace of the new libraries. Okay, so that's why you have to update continuously. You need to upskill, and certain skill if you don't have, you need to reskill that. Then you can survive as a full stack developer. Then when it comes to backend, it is either .NET or .NET Core or Java or PHP or Ruby on Rails or Python or Node.js or Go language. You can use any of those things depending on your proficiency, depending on your knowledge and depending on your skill set. You can use those things. And you individually you may be very good with particular technology, but when you work in a project, the ultimate decision is with the architect and the company and the project manager. Depending on the ecosystem, depending on the people available, they go for that. Okay, so you can develop using any backend technology like either .NET or Java or PHP or Ruby on Rails or Python or Node.js or Go language. There are so many other things also available. You can develop using any one of them. But we cover here Python. Python Flask and Python Django we cover. Okay, then here in the database side, we have SQL Server, which is from Microsoft, and we have Oracle, it's from the Oracle Corporation. MySQL, I don't know who is the vendor actually, but recently this Oracle acquired it. MySQL and MariaDB, you have two things in this. So it is overtaken by Oracle. And you have one more thing, PostgreSQL. So this you can compare with the Oracle RDBMS. It is that much good software. It is cheaper when compared with Oracle, but very, very powerful like Oracle. Okay, so PostgreSQL, it also has same history like Oracle, but it could not become popular because of funding problem, I think. Now, actually, it's picking up. And PostgreSQL is open source. It is freely, you can download for non-commercial applications. Okay, if you want to go for commercial, definitely you have to have a server license. Or when you move into cloud, in such case, they charge. They're going to charge when you move into cloud. Cloud is what exactly? AWS is cloud, GCP is a cloud. Okay, similarly, Azure is a cloud. They actually, instead of you maintain your server, you move your application into cloud. Okay, so in the cloud, because if you are maintaining application in your own server, you require maintenance people there. Administrators are required from time to time. You need to monitor the server. You need to fine tune it from time to time. Okay, you need to maintain 24-hour internet connectivity, the cooling kind of thing. Similarly, you require fallback servers, or if due to some reason, if one server is failing, other server come into scenario. So you have upfront cost. You need to spend so much in building the infrastructure. Instead of that, you can, if you move into Azure or like AWS, everything is available there. Just you need to pay money and you move your application into that, then it can be working in the cloud. And they are very fast when compared with our own servers because they have better internet connectivity. They have actually zone redundancy kind of thing. Okay, due to some reason, if one server fails, other server comes into scenario, automatically they can take backup. And above that, we don't require any administrators at our end to continuously monitor that and to fine tune from time to time. So that can be taken care by the, Azure or AWS or Google Cloud platform. There are other things like Python Anywhere. Okay, it is actually a little cheaper, Python Anywhere, something like $4 per month. If you pay, you can start using with MySQL and Python. Okay, so like that, we can have actually the cloud. So you can develop a full stack application using these tools. Ultimately, you need to deploy that onto some hosting server that can be cloud-based, or it can be your own dedicated server, or even you can go with the shared servers. That means same server In the same server, multiple applications can be hosted. Multiple web applications can be hosted. In such case, you don't have better performance. You don't have much control over it because they give you one folder. You have access to only that particular folder. In that only you need to manage things. Entire server is not in your control. So shared hosting is going to be a little slow, but when you go with the cloud or dedicated, they can be much better than the shared hosting, but they incur much expenditure when compared with the shared space. Okay, and to build your own website, you require some domain name. So without domain name, you cannot do it. So definitely you have here a domain name. In the domain name, you need to using domain name, you can actually get connected to your web application when you host this in a particular server. So without domain name also you can access using IP address, but that is not a good practice. So you need to have actually a domain name, then your domain name can be linked to the your IP address. So using some name servers, we call name servers, and with that you can set it. Okay, so these are actually popular tech stacks. Then it is actually now I talk about actually HTML. HTML is a hypertext markup language. It's a DSL, domain-specific language for creating web pages. A web page is a well-defined structure of HTML elements which are responsible for rendering content in the web browser. Okay, a web browser is a software application using which we can access content from World Wide Web. We have different types of web browsers like Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or Edge or Internet Explorer. They are actually web browsers. It is again a standalone application you need to install in your computer. We need to install it in our computer. So they are actually operating system specific. Suppose you want to install a browser in the Linux, its setup is different. And if you want to install in Windows, its setup is going to be different. Web application is platform independent. Whatever application you develop, that is platform independent. But the application which is rendering your web pages is not actually platform independent. That is platform specific, because browsers only render your web applications. One platform to another platform, the setup of the browser changes. Only in the browser you can render HTML pages. Okay, similarly we have a concept called CSS. CSS is a cascading style sheet. It's a style sheet language for providing styles. You have some content in the web page. You need to make it looking better. Better fonts are required, better colors are required. Okay, better layout is required. All that you can achieve with the help of the style sheets. It's called as CSS. Similarly, we have JavaScript. JavaScript is a scripting language. We make our pages dynamic using JavaScript. If you look at web history, so far we have actually 2 generations, and 3rd generation is in the offing. Okay, first generation was actually, it was information centric. Something like a pamphlet or flyer if you take, on that when you print something, when you distribute, it's only, in that case it's read only. Okay, people can just read, it's not interactive. In the same manner, Web 1.0 was information centric. People just could read content from that. They could not interact with that. That means whatever you want to, query in that, or whatever you want to search, it was not possible. Not as per the user choice, content is actually shown in the Web 1.0. Okay, mostly the sites were static sites in the Web 1.0. But in the Web 2.0, they are actually user-centric. That means they are dynamic web pages we can create. User can interact, and whatever user wants to get, user can get from that. So that's why the Web 2.0 applications are user-centric. As per the user choice, you can get. But if you go with the Web 3.0, so here it's going to be based on the, these days actually blockchain. Based on the blockchain actually, but these servers are going to be again different. Blockchain servers are going to be different. They are not like this. Web 3.0 is going to be totally blockchain based. It's fully secure, but they consume a lot of actually, for processing actually, you require a lot of power in the case of the, if you go with the Web 3.0. In the Web 3.0, it's going to blockchain based, and there are other concepts actually we have, but we don't touch Web 3.0. So we discuss about only Web 2.0. How to make web applications interactive, much better, okay, with the help of the React.js or Angular or jQuery, HTML, CSS. But we cover here Angular. With Angular, we develop the front-end applications. Okay. So here one more, as I told, Angular. Angular is a JavaScript framework which is open source and is mainly used to develop single-page applications. We call them as SPA. So first time loading of single-page application is slow, but once loaded, navigation among the different content, or we can call different views, is going to be quite fast, because you are not going to access every time the web server to get the pages. Very first time when you load the website, in that case it's going to be little slow, but once loaded it can be running very fast, because all the views are downloaded, and whenever you are actually switching between the views, it is only data which is coming from the from the server. Only data you get. You are not going to get every time styles or content. HTML elements you are not going to get in that case. Only the data comes, and with the help of data we are going to be updating it. Okay. So Angular code is written in TypeScript and a set of TypeScript libraries used in web application development. So TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. But TypeScript is what here? It's a strongly typed language. I was saying yesterday about strongly typing in the last session. Take example C language. C is a strongly typed language, but Python is not strongly typed. Similarly, JavaScript is not strongly typed language. Okay, whereas the TypeScript is actually strongly typed. To impose restrictions on the typing, this has been invented. TypeScript has been invented. So it's a superset of JavaScript. But when you compile TypeScript, it becomes automatically like JavaScript it is. Okay. So whenever we compile the Angular code, it's going to generate styles as well as JavaScript files for us. Also, index.html, it creates for us. Okay. So this is basically about the full stack. Okay. So these things we are going to cover. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then Angular. And as far as backend is concerned, first core Python is covered. That means what is Python language? Okay, the Python language, again, you have various concepts like data types, operators, control structures, file IO, getting connected to database, creation of JSON, creation of XML. All those are covered, and creating functions, creating classes, okay, object-oriented concepts, creating modules. Similarly, how to import the predefined Python packages. All those will be covered in the Python core. Okay, we call it as first part of Python or core Python. Then after that, we choose actually some web framework. Either it can be Flask or it can be Django, or we can cover both depending on your interest. So both with the Flask and Django, there are huge opportunities these days. If you are really good, definitely you can get a job with those. And not only for web application development, the Python can be used for different things we can use. Using Python, you can go with the data analytics or machine learning kind of thing, artificial intelligence. Okay, if you want to go with the Web 3.0, that means blockchain based, even you can develop those things. Python is limitless. Whatever you want to develop, you can develop using Python. Even robotics, it's used. In USA, in many schools, for the youngsters, they teach robotics using Python. They learn Python and they learn few robotic based things or IoT based. In the case of IoT, you can use onboard computers. Onboard computer means everything is in the same board. It's called an onboard. You have a screen there only. Then everything is on the board. So they can be like Raspberry Pi or Arduino processors. Raspberry Pi and Arduino processors. So with that, edge devices, all these are nothing but onboard computers. Okay, so you can power them using Python code. In IoT also we can use Python. So Python, as I told, limitless. Any kind of application you can develop using Python language. But you should be good with the basics. Okay, whatever technology you choose, whatever language you choose, you have to be good with one language, and basics should be very, very strong in any language. Even if you take C or C++ or Java or Django, or Python or Go language, you have to be good with the basics. If you're good with basics, all advanced things are very simple. Mostly they are actually predefined libraries. Just we need to clump them together. We need to assemble using them. So if you know basics well, then it is going to be cakewalk for you in learning actually the advanced concepts. Okay, you have to be very good with the basics. But normally we don't focus much on the basics. We always look for the advanced concepts. So if you simply go for advanced concepts without knowing basics, that can boomerang. Okay, because advanced concepts are very powerful without, knowing the basics, how to use them. If you don't know how to use them properly, that can boomerang. So therefore, you have to be good with the basics. Whatever language you choose, you have to be good with those things. Then it becomes easy for you to, continue with the development process. Whether it is full stack or only server side, whatever it is, you have to be good with the basics. Yeah. Anyone has any questions? Anyway, anyone has any questions, please? Okay. So now I continue. Yes, please.
No questions.
Okay. So now let me continue with the, are you following what I'm saying? Any difficulty in following? Am I too fast or too slow? Can you give your comments? So type in the chat window, please. Okay. So initially, we start with Python. So we discuss about actually Python language, and we write plenty of programs using Python language. With core Python itself, I want to cover about 60 to 70 programs. Okay, so using various features available in the Python, we do like that. So in the Python, first of all, how it goes, let me explain you. So this is Python language. Very first thing is going to be here. What are the tokens available in Python? What are tokens exactly? Then what are the data types available in this? Okay, what are the operators it supports? Then here we go with the control statements. Okay, spelling is wrong. Control statements like if condition, while loop, then for loop, those things you learn. Okay, then after that, we go with the data structures available. Inbuilt structures like you have a list, we have tuple. Okay, similarly, we have a set and dictionary. These are covered. These are used most commonly. Okay, data structures. Then after that, we learn about actually functions, how to create functions and how to use them. How to define in different files and how to import them into current. We are going to cover about that. Okay, then similarly, while learning this, we talk about actually Python language structure. Okay, we discuss about that. After functions, we go with the OOPS concept or just using object-oriented programming, how to develop Python applications, you learn in that. OOPS it is. Then after OOPS, actually file IO we do. That means input and output operations, how we do. IO it is saving into files. So that concepts will be discussed. Then after that, we go with the database connectivity. Okay, and we discuss about actually some JSON related concepts. This will be covered in the core Python. Okay, they look like some 10-15 lines only they are looking, but that is going to be whenever you attend sessions, it's going to be really exhaustive, I could say. Okay, only few points I have shown here, but so many topics come in that. So Python language, what it is and what kind of language it is, we discuss. Then what are the tokens available? Of course, every language supports same types of tokens. except constants. In the Python, there is no concept called constant. You cannot define constants in the Python. Then similarly, Python language structure, how to write Python code. Then data types, what are the types supported in the Python language, and operators. You perform different types of operations. Okay, basically like you perform arithmetic, you perform relational operators, you perform logical operations. Similarly, you can do like equality operator, inequality operator, conditional operator, bitwise operations. We have like that operators. Then after that, we talk about actually control statements, like how to use a condition, how to use a while loop, or how to use a for loop. Okay, how to use for loop with a collection. All we discuss in the control statements. Number of examples we do in that. Then we go with the data structures, like what is list, what is tuple, what is set, what is dictionary, what are the operations you can perform on them. We discuss about that. Here we go with the functions, how to define functions, and how you can define different types of functions. Okay, then again in that, how to use recursion in the functions, we cover that. After that, we talk about actually object-oriented programming. Okay, so far up to this, we follow the procedural approach. Okay, we follow just procedural approach. We define a function, that function we call. Functions are basically reusable units of code. Again and again, you can use functions. Okay, wherever you require. It is something like a library. Once you write them, and number of places you can use. Reusable code you put into function. Okay, then it is related to OOPS. So Python, you can use it as a object-oriented programming language, or it can be a procedural language. For example, look at C. C is a procedural language. But when you go with the Java or C#, they are actually object-oriented languages. Okay, everything you need to write inside the class in the case of C# or Java. But when you go with C, everything you need to write in terms of functions only. So it is something similar to C language, but it's not that low level. Okay, you don't find too many restrictions in the Python language like C. And similarly, it doesn't support pointers. There is no explicit pointer concept in the Python language. Okay, so here you can use it as a object-oriented programming language, or you can use it as a like a procedural language like C language or Go language. Like that, you can actually use the Python language. But the OOPS concepts, they are not that verbose or that detailed when compared with the C++ or Java or C#. They are truly object-oriented, but Python supports only partially those concepts. So whenever we talk about object-oriented programming, we talk about classes, we talk about objects, then we talk about actually a kind of a part of, that is inheritance we have, classification hierarchy that is called as, then aggregation. Similarly, we say inheritance, polymorphism. So all those concepts we have in the OOPS, object-oriented programming. Then we have the file IO. File IO is nothing but you may have text file or you may have binary file. You are going to save it on the disk. It is called as persistence. So you can go with the persistence of the data using file IO. Then it is not just connectivity, database operations. Okay, database operations here you can perform. From Python, you can connect to PostgreSQL or MySQL or SQL Server, whatever data you have in the Python application that can be saved in the database. Okay, in the database tables. Okay, so before we go with that, I cover little about the database as well. I cover little about databases, like how to create databases in PostgreSQL, how to create tables, what are the different types of data supported in the PostgreSQL. Okay, how to go with the DML statements. So I put here. Before that, we have introduction to RDBMS. Then we learn in this DDL, called as data definition language, DML, data manipulation language. Then similarly, we have here DCL, TCL. One more thing is here DQL or DRL. Okay, it is called as DQL or DRL. So DQL is nothing but query language. DRL is data retrieval language. Both are same. So in this case, mostly we use the select statement. But when it is DDL, either create or update, alter, or it is actually drop. We use the DDL. In the DML, it is insertion, updation, then similarly deletion of data. Okay, there can be some other things we do with the DML. In the case of DCL, you can create users, you can grant permissions to user, you can revoke permissions. It's basically data control language. And with DCL, you can be controlling transactions. So these will cover, probably this may take 3 to 4 days to cover actually the RDMS concepts. So it is the basics required to connect to database I cover here. Okay, it's not going to be exhaustive, but once this is completed, if you have interest further, we can go into the database also, RDBMS. It can be lasting for 10 to 15 days, like it can be covered. Then from Python, how to connect to database, that part is covered here. Okay, then what is JSON, how to use. So this is covered in the core Python. So initially we go with core Python. It may take about 15 days time to finish this. And it may take some 3 days to complete the RDBMS part. Okay, I expect actually commitment from you. You have to be committed, you have to be on time. And if I give assignments, you have to finish it, then I'll have the enthusiasm. So if you are really, lethargic, if you don't show interest, definitely my interest also dies down. So I request you to show interest. And if you have any issues, you can actually email me, or you can put in the chat window. If you can't follow something, I can repeat it. Or else later on, you can go through videos. Again, you can see. Still, if you can't understand, you can actually email. Then we'll be responding to the email. Okay, so like this, we are going to cover the Python language. First, we cover Python, then followed by connecting with the database. Then after that, we come to the front end. Initially, we go with the Python. So this can help you in choosing your career further. You can be like a full stack developer, or you can go with the data analytics, or you can be developing simply Windows-based applications. Okay, so I give overall idea of Python, what you can do with the Python language. So this is called as here core Python. We are going to cover first with the Python language. It may take about 15 days time to finish it. Okay, anyone has any questions? Okay. Yeah, can you give your introduction, please? I can know. I can actually, like, as per, if I know you exactly, what's your background, accordingly, I can plan the lessons. Okay, so that may meet your requirement also. So if you can introduce yourself, that would be really good. Just in the chat window, if you type, that's going to be really great. Okay. So you're a business analyst. So JSON is JavaScript object notation. Okay, this is a popular format to exchange data between the applications. JSON is JavaScript object notation. What is JavaScript? We learn when we discuss about the JavaScript. Okay, so you can take a JavaScript object and you can convert it to JSON. JSON is used for exchanging information between the applications or among applications. You have front end, you have one kind of data format here, but when you move to say like Python, it's different environment total. So in such case, how do you exchange information? There should be some common format, so that you have with the JSON or with XML. So these two are actually popular formats, but XML is very heavy. Okay, you need to follow some schema. It is really cumbersome, a little difficult also XML. So that's why they have done away with XML. Now people are depending on the JSON, JavaScript object notation, that is. Okay, seems no one has questions. Fine, thank you everyone.
Hi all. 1 second. Hi all. I shared the YouTube link where you can find multiple videos. You can keep watching that, and also you can subscribe to the channel. And that information, like we have around 66 videos as of now, still we are counting. It is like more information about all the courses which we have. Okay, the training code information is already available. Please subscribe to the channel and then try to watch the videos. Also, I sent one message for the WhatsApp. So we
Yes.
have a group for the training session. So that we will add. You just send a text message to the number. I'm just repeating again. +1. We have 215-964-2200. So that way we just send you a name and say hi. We add the name. I'll just store the number and then we'll add it to the WhatsApp group where we are having a communication about the sessions, about various things which you have. So we will be just sending that. And in the meantime, like if at all we come across any job postings also, that also we keep sharing in that particular group. Okay. So that's all I would like to say. And by the way, my name is Sitaram. You see the messages from me. Okay. So have a good day all.